Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to show you the latest additions to the beta version of World Creator 2. This is the beta dated to the 12th of May 2017. As the previous version, it is still not finished. There are functions that have not been added to the software, and also there are a few bugs. But what I'm showing you will probably be useful when using the final version of the software. First, let us create a new scene. Currently, saving and loading is disabled, so you have to keep in mind that every scene you will work on will not be reusable. There are a few things that have changed in the scene navigation. The first one and the most practical one is the back to base function. So if you're lost in your scene, you just have to hit the F key and you'll be back to the default view. Another useful addition is the rotate function. In the previous betas, you could rotate using the right mouse button, but it rotates around the camera axis. Now if you hold the Alt key while rotating, it rotates around the scene center, which is more useful if you want to quickly navigate the scene. In the base shapes, a few things have changed. The most prominent one is the seamless function, which enables you to export tiling versions of your terrain. You can also play with the offset of levels, a new function added in this very version of the beta, which I have not yet tested a lot. One of the interesting features that was introduced in previous beta is the shapes and path. Let's add a new one, which we will call lake. I'm using shapes and path from the design part in order to create rivers or roads with the path, and lakes with the shape. Let's try the shape. So if you hit it, nothing appears. You have to add it, and here's the shape you created. It's a basic shape on the terrain. If you edit it, you'll be able to move every point. Every time you move a point, another one is created between the ones you've moved. So you can modify it. The aim here is to make it less irregular in order to make it look like a bit more like a mountain lake. There are a few parameters with the shape, which are the edge offset and the smoothness. Make it more smooth in order to make it fit your terrain in a more natural way. Once you're done, don't forget to click edit shape and you'll see the shape. This is intended to be a lake in the middle of these mountains. So you can also add roads with a path. A few other filters have been added. We'll test them quickly on a new layer called shape. These filters are in the artistic tab, so you have distortion, which is very strong, distorts your terrain. You have swirl, which rotates it around its center. Voronoi creates a series of shapes, angular shapes. wind erases the terrain based on a path, and the arrow edges reduces the sides to 0.8. But we won't be using these, we'll be using a simple ridged, small sharp ridges first. This adds a nice touch to the terrain. It reduces the height a lot, and we'll add sand-covered canyons to it. I think both of them are, when using both of them is a bit too strong. I think sand-covered canyon could very well be used alone. So get rid of sharp small ridges, and then if you adjust the sharpness, you change the appearance of the terrain dramatically. Also, I would like to get rid of these sharp points here. So just using the slider helps reduce the height. Maybe now add a soft erosion filter. There's not much rain, so it needs to be soft here. Reduce the strength of the widest parts, and you'll get some erosion. So now we have the basic shape. We'll add a lake in the middle of it. We'll use the ocean. Maybe we'll need to reduce the height of the ocean so that lakes only goes in some parts. Now the fun thing is that you can really adjust the sides of the lake interactively. So if you want to edit the shape, see, I want to move this, and it changes the terrain all around it. And about this, I will create a bit, some little islands. So it's very interactive and fast, and really fun to use. Created a few little islands in my desert terrain. Let's see what we have, what new things we have in the textures. The main thing I discovered is that you can add custom textures. So let's create a layer, and as you can see, if you own the program, you will see that all these textures have been are not in the default program. I've added them. To add a texture, let's see how you can do it. This is the directory on my hard disk where I stored some textures, and I want to add this one to make sure I can add it to a world creator. I need to check two things. I need three textures: the color, displacement, and normal ones, and I need them to be in PNG format. Both of these conditions are met, so I will copy these and paste them into this folder on the World Creator 2 Beta in the World Creator 2 Beta folder. So here's the path: World Creator 2 Beta, streaming assets, 2D, ground, and custom. This is where you need to paste your textures. Currently, my DZ sound is here, but it won't work because it needs to be named in a certain way. As you can see, all the names of the textures end the same way. So the diffuse texture needs to be named with a name ending by _diff. So I'll do it for it. Base color diff. The second one is displacement _disp. Okay, let's do the same here. And the third one _norm. If you rename it, oops, that way. Well, I have renamed the three textures, so normally it appears in World Creator 2. It has been imported automatically because I have renamed the textures. So I'm able to use it on my terrain. So it's a desert texture, which I will place on the base of my terrain. It's a bit grainy. Well, the normal map doesn't seem to be here. Let's check. I have pixel _norm. Normally it should be active, even though it's not appearing. I'll add a second base texture. If you look at it, you can see that it covers the whole terrain. You can check it with this little button, which shows the where the texture appears. Currently it covers the whole terrain. What I want to do is mix it with the former one. So I'll use some surface noise. Surface noise has changed from the previous version. Now it's a whole more detailed. So you need to use this to the top and then this to alternate both textures. We'll adjust the scale, and then you have the exact texture mix, which you can see here. Textures can also be modified using this menu. I've gone back to the first one. You can reduce the contrast, increase or reduce the brightness. This makes it easier to match different texture colors among each other. Now we have the base texture. We would like to add some different texture in the areas that are eroded. To do so, we need to select these areas using the area function. It can be used to do a variety of things, but I find it useful to do this. So you use the filter, erosion soft. I'm not sure it works with that resolution. And then increase the level step 8, and as you can see, it selects only the areas that are eroded. So this is the selection mask you can apply later on in order to select areas where textures will appear. So we'll name it erosion here and go back to our textures. To apply a texture only to an area, you need to create a different layer. So we'll name this layer erosion and add a texture to it. As previously, it covers the whole terrain. We'll adjust its tiling size, reduce its contrast a bit, add some smoothness, and then we'll need to make it appear on the selected area again only. So we click erosion, preview it, and then you can see that it only appears in this eroded areas. Then we need a texture for the rocks emerging from the sand. Let's go back to our base and add it. This. Okay, again it covers the whole place, but will only appear it to the areas that have the most slope. Okay. So there's our lake. Where the rocks are emerging from the desert sand. And maybe this texture, Scotch contrast, matches better the sand texture. The last thing we will take a look at is in the scene tab. Since a few beta versions we've been given a lot more objects to place in our scenes, a lot more grass versions and even flowers. So let's add grass to the scene. As again, as before, you can tint it the same way as the ground. Adding 2 grasses and then 1 flower. It is better to use the details if you want to add more density to the objects we created. We'll finish by finding a nice camera angle and then changing the sky to the realistic one. You can change the hour of the day very easily. I had missed it last in the previous video. Let's look towards the sun to see the sun shaft, and then okay. So here's what has been added in this version. I have not showed you everything because I need to keep some functions for the next video, but hope you found it interesting. Until we see the next beta version, maybe you'll download the program and play with it. Well, I'll do the same and see you in the next video.